This is your City Council Roundup, a recap of what's happening at City Hall with John Ongaro. The views expressed in this program are solely of those of the host and not necessarily those of the radio station or its partners.
Well, if you're tuning in for the first time this morning, because I understand there may be one or two of you that are, thank you. This, by the way, is the City Council Roundup. Seems like a popular little piece on our little radio station, and many of you reach out appreciative of the Roundup because it pretty much breaks down what happened the night before. But as always, just remember it's an opinion piece, and the disclaimer at the beginning is there for a reason, but I do my best to follow along and give my thoughts the next morning. To say that this term of council has made this side job of mine a little difficult is a bit of an understatement, actually the biggest understatement of the year. Officially, we've been doing this piece in one form or another for 7 years, ironically, as of tomorrow.
Oh.
But this term of council has made this beyond difficult to translate to you, the listener, because it has been, in a word, a roller coaster. It's been chaos at times, and even moreover, has been more and more confusing week after week. This week was no exception. But if you're looking for fireworks this morning, you might be a little disappointed. If you're waiting for an opinion, yeah, that's coming. But if you're looking for a breakdown of what happened last night, you might be disappointed because technically nothing happened last night. Again. And I mean nothing changed, nothing happened, and the only thing consistent is the contempt in the room over the temporary village. So I'll do my best to break this down. Here we go. The meeting started at 6:35 last night, and only the mayor was missing, and Councillor Bentz was online. Only the mayor was missing. That means there were 12 councillors in the meeting. An even number. See where that's going? This was the first Tuesday night meeting under the new procedural bylaws and the new format of City Council. We opened for the first time last night with the city's land acknowledgement being read and a lovely edition of O Canada by a young lady that did a fantastic job. And then the addition of the new speaker in the chambers. Councillor Folds is now the speaker, who replaces the chair. He actually sits in the main seat at the front of the room and in essence controls the flow and the management of the meeting. I will say this. Councillor Folds and I have maybe not agreed on many things, mostly over the last couple of years, but it doesn't change my respect for how he runs a meeting, especially with the clerk's support right next to them. His knowledge of procedures and how to run a meeting is fantastic. He did a great job last night and made an excellent speaker of the chamber and controlled a very tight meeting, calling members out when they needed to be and making timely decisions about discussions. This part of the new format will make a huge difference in the flow of the meetings. Hats off to everybody involved in this major change. So far, so good. It was great last night.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Also, the procedures and everything behind the scenes, as well as City Clerk Krista Power.
Yeah.
There's so much to know and understand
To be honest, they're a bit of a dream team because they both know and understand and did a great job putting it together. Although there was some comedic relief because everybody kept saying the chair, but you don't say the chair anymore. It's now speaker, but they'll get used to it. It was great. There were two major agenda items last night that towered over another item brought forward by City Manager John Cullen. He presented the City Manager's workplace update. I like this report because it shows the council and the public that administration isn't just sitting on their hands. Their plate is full and gives a full update on the projects in the works, the timelines attached to them, and their priorities. It's a great update, and I look forward to it quarterly. But that was, of course, overshadowed by everything else that was happening last night. First, the deferral of ratification on the allowable tent encampment areas. You may remember the chaos back on August 11th, where two important motions were brought forward, both lost in 5-5 ties. Wink, wink. See where we're going with this? Councillor Hamilton brought back the vote to last night's meeting for a re-vote on Councillor Oliver's motion that lost. But this time there were two more councillors in attendance, and so let's re-vote. Now remember how many people were in attendance last night? 12. An even number. How's your math? You see what's coming. The motion was as follows, and this is important. With respect to the memorandum from Councillor Kristen Oliver, we recommend that administration be directed to create criteria for allowable tent encampments in the city of Thunder Bay and report back to City Council for approval. And that once criteria are approved, listen carefully, administration work with agency partners and individuals living in encampments to determine where allowable tent encampments are located. And with that, administration continued to update City Council on the work and share information with the public to provide education, support, and assistance related to the human rights-based community action plan. So essentially, the motion says, administration, here's your chance to get to work on designated encampment areas. We need them. But let's remember that work can't start and nothing can be enforced in the current encampment areas until the temporary village is built, approved, and available. So away we went on this first point, back into discussion about locations again, and some councillors feel like they should be involved in this election. Councillor Oliver pointed out that the decision about encampment sites and their permissible locations was premature last night because of the Hilliard site was again in front of them later in the meeting. She pointed out that the timelines are now lost because nothing can be done with the encampments until the village is built, and well, we know where that's going. Councillor Gatuga, though, thought that councillors should be involved in site selection, even though they weren't involved in locations of the village, because apparently the criteria and data used to select locations isn't as good as councillors' opinions. It was a bizarre take on the whole thing. Let administration do their job. Jobs where data drives recommendations, not political currency. But then to the rescue came Councillor Johnson. Shocker, I know. He added his 2 cents to rebuke Gertuga's claim that, in my opinion, was the line of the night. He doesn't think council should be picking and advising on locations for encampments. Why? Well, he said, we don't pick which roads get fixed every year or which rinks to close. We rely on administration who has an unbiased opinion, and then said, quote, I want to govern here. I don't want to manage. Exceptionally well said, Councillor. So back to the revote on the motion to ask administration to work on the criteria and the designated encampment sites. Remember the math. There are 12 people in attendance. And guess what happened? Another tie. This time 6-6. The mayor's missing again. And so the motion dies on the floor. The mayor was the tiebreaker. He's been off for a while, so yet another vote ends in a loss because of a tie.
Just to confirm what you've just said there, I had someone ask me recently, a tie results
is a loss.
In a loss?
Yep. That's the way it goes.
Yeah. Okay.
And now away we go. The big highlight of the night, the notice of motion. First, to suspend the rules to debate the notice to rescind the Hilliard site. It requires a 2/3 vote. We've been here before. I did make a mistake in the last roundup saying that if there were 12 people in the room, you only needed 8 votes to pass. That is incorrect. And I want to go on the record saying I had that wrong. You actually do need 9 because legally there are 13 voting members, so at 2/3 votes would be 9 people. If it loses, the notice to rescind on the dog park now comes back in 2 weeks. So really, the vote was only to have that debate last night. But big news, the city manager announced last night that through MPP Kevin Holland, if they put forward a reasonable request to extend the deadline for the funding for the temporary village, it will be granted by the Minister of Housing. He found that out 2 hours prior to the meeting last night. It was a big announcement, but he also explained that if the motion to rescind goes through, any further delay will mean the village won't be built this winter and that not all time sensitivities with the project do not disappear. But the funding delay is minor compared to the loss of the village for the winter. But John Collin also advised council of this. Please listen carefully.
Speaker, through you to the councillor, what I tried to articulate is there are all sorts of urgencies to this file, one of which is to Councillor Folt's points as a speaker, that people are suffering on our streets, people are getting sick on our streets, people in the wintertime are dying on our streets. Any further delay will cause the village not to be constructed in time for the winter season, and since we don't dig during the winter, it means this is not built until the spring. That is an urgency that needs to be recognized. The anxiety issues need to be recognized as an urgency. And I am aware through our discussions with various business holders that potential investments and enhancements in the area may be put on hold depending on the outcome. That is another urgency to the situation of getting a resolution from this council. But is there anything that is not achievable by waiting the 2 weeks? No, provided this council is comfortable with those urgencies. Thank you.
Businesses have said that many investments and enhancements may be put on hold based on the outcome of this decision.
That brings up a lot of questions.
Well, the biggest one is, why didn't the businesses around Hilliard get the same shake in front of council that the Fort William BIA did? They didn't. There is no denying that. And that was part of the discussion after that. Around and round we went. 3 rounds of questions about them suspending the rules. Remember, we haven't got to the notice of motion yet. And several of them called out of order by the speaker to stay on track. But here's the bombshell and the part that not one councillor, listen to what I'm saying, the part that not one councillor mentioned, with the exception of Andrew Folds, was that no one made it about the people suffering. Not one. Nobody made it about the people. Councillor Folds and the city manager mentioned it. They finally want to close this file and get started because there are people to help. So again, the first vote to change the rules to allow the notice of motion to come forward and finalize the site. And what happened? Nothing. The first motion lost in a, wait for it, 6-6 tie. Shocker, I know, but the vote didn't reach the 9-vote threshold. So that was it. Done. The notice of motion about the dog park now gets pushed back 2 more weeks to the next city council meeting on September 16th. The meeting ended at 8:46. All that buildup, all that drama for nothing, and for nothing again. All we did is add another 2 weeks to this chaos. 2 more weeks for the public to lose faith. 2 more weeks for major business owners to lose faith in the council's ability to make a difficult decision. And 2 more weeks to wait for the mayor to show up and provide leadership to this group who have lost their way again. Standing committees start next Tuesday at 4:30. The next city council meeting, complete with yet another debate about the location of the temporary village, is Tuesday, September 16th.
Here's my question. I got to thinking during just your last comment there. If this is so important, which it is, can they not call a special meeting where all councillors, all 13, must be present, whether it's a Thursday night, a Friday night, a Sunday afternoon, where they are all present in order to make a decision?
Sounds easy. I'd leave that question for the city clerk, who's the expert on this, but I don't know. I do believe that a lot of this delay is because it's been, now, to their defense, it's summertime, vacations, whatever. Sure. It doesn't matter. But this is a year and a half.
Right.
And now we just pushed it back 2 more years. It is bizarre that we can't get together. But even if there were 13 in the room, Danny, everything that we voted on has been a split decision on this file from the get-go. But it wasn't a split decision on the human rights approach that they approved. Mm-hmm. So here we are, a year and a half later, nothing is getting done, looking for a further extension on the funding so that we have the money to do this, and we're just doing it all over again.
City Manager John Cullen did say there comes a point where these extensions aren't going to be granted. Like, you can't keep asking for extensions.
Just my opinion, I think it's impossible that this is getting built this winter,
especially
I don't with think another 2 weeks. Now, I could be wrong, and the city manager said it last night very well. Hey, like, sometimes we can make things happen. We could do our best. But remember that with this notice of motion that came on Thursday for the agenda, everything to do with the building of the temporary village has stopped. Mm-hmm. Dead in its tracks, because now nothing can be done until the next notice of motion comes forward, which is on the 16th. It's just not ending.
So will a decision be made on the 16th?
It has to be now. It has to be. But my math tells me this. There's going to be a lot of very angry people because I don't think there are 9 votes in the room to overturn the Hilliard site.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I don't think that the outcome of that, when it comes to the business community in that area, is going to be a very good day for the city.
No, that was a very concerning comment from City Manager John Cullen.
It was very strong. It was a very strong warning.
Yeah.
But this council doesn't care. And again, it's not in my backyard. It's over and over and over again. But please remember, wherever you fall on this issue, whatever side of the fence you are on with the temporary village, please remember that this group of counselors were the ones that voted for a human rights approach.
Yeah.
The temporary village will actually trigger designated encampment sites where you can tell people to move. Right now, you've stopped nothing. They can put a tent wherever they want at any time because this council can't decide on the first part of the 10-point plan, which is to build the village.
And here we are on the 3rd of September, and we know the weather's changing, seasons and whatnot, and I don't know this is going to happen by the end of this year.
Please, I just need them to start talking about the people that need the help. That's what it's about. Because now a tent can show up anywhere. The temporary village is not an option for people. The winter is coming. People are getting frustrated that tents are showing up in their backyards. This is all because we're delaying the temporary village and the 10-point plan that they approved. I just want to throw in one last thing, and this is not, I'm not trying to be funny or make anything else. This has taken a year and a half. It sure didn't take long to say yes to a $50 million indoor turf facility.
Yeah.
But this is harder. I don't understand how this is harder. And it's because public pressure and political currency are in play.
Everyone says that this is a sensitive subject, and it certainly is. But I mean, a year and a half and now another 2 weeks again. I don't know that there's going to be a decision in 2 weeks, John. That's just me.
Well, they have to make one or the other. So they do have to make another one. They have to make a decision one way or another next on the 16th.
What if?
And again, I'm not a psychic, but I got a strong sense that nothing's going to change, that the Hilliard site is going to get built, because I don't think there's enough of them on that council to change their mind to make the 9 votes that's needed to change it.
All right. Well, here's the thing. It's a famous phrase, and we say we wait and see.
2 weeks will be the next city council roundup. I am not sitting through all of these standing committee meetings, but I'll watch next week at 4:30 just to see what those are all about, and we'll keep you posted.
Perfect. There it is. There's your roundup, 807-344-8229. You can text the word council in a bit for that, or you can also check out our website, yourthunderbay.ca. You just scroll down, and you will see John's roundup there in just a bit.